Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big clash of this round of the European Team Championship 2025. It is Ukraine versus Serbia. Even though yesterday we've shown that game where Nicolas Teodoro defeated Alexander Pretka on board one, the clash Greece versus Serbia. Serbia defeated Greece as they won on board 2 and 3. And now Serbia is facing Ukraine as they are on 100%. And this is aboard 3. Ihor Samunenkov, he's only 16 years old. I think he became a grandmaster when he was 14. And for a brief moment, I think he was the youngest grandmaster in the world. But now already very experienced at the age of 16. Faces a very strong Serbian grandmaster, Markus, who was also on the team in 2023 when Serbia won the gold medal on the European Team Championship that year. So not an easy matchup for 16-year-old Ihor. And even though Robert dropped a little bit with rating, at some point a couple of years ago, he was almost 2,700, like 2,670, or maybe even above that. So yeah, very interesting matchup. And before we check it out, I would just like to mention yesterday, Lotus Chess had a really big update. They have now released the full game analysis mode, so do try it out. And also the most requested feature that everyone is asking for, and that is to reset everything and just replay your openings from the start. Seems weird, but I've also realized that it's definitely a useful feature. As when you go through it all, you want to try it again, but then just completely destroy the openings. It's basically like speed running the openings. So it's a lot of fun. Do try it out as usual. First link in the description below. If you still haven't tried it, it's the future. Come on board. Getting back to the game, Ihor with white opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e6, the French defense, pawn to d4, pawn to d5, and knight to c3. We have bishop to b4, the Winawer variation of the French, and pawn to e5, pawn to c5, and pawn to a3 is pretty much standard here. It's very unusual to see anything other than pawn to a3 when you play this. Here we have bishop to d2. Nothing crazy. It's actually the second most popular continuation, the Bogolyubov variation against the Winawer, and here we have knight to e7. And the question is, do you go queen g4 as you do against the most lines of the Winawer? Well, here you don't, and I will briefly show you why. Because after c captures on d4, you don't really get the capture on g7. The rook attacks the queen, and then you're going to lose the knight. And if you capture on d4, then the knight defends the bishop and comes into the game with tempo. Queen g4, now d4, again, same thing. Knight to e4, and now castles kingside. And while you do have this one check, after king to h8, there's really not all that much for you to do here, and black is just much better. So after knight e7, we have pawn to a3, attacking the bishop. Bishop captures, and now bishop captures, so you don't have to mess up your pawn structure. Knight b to c6, and knight to f3. We have c captures on d4. Bishop captures, and again, this is all very well-known theory. Both knight captures and bishop captures is perfectly fine, and both is played here. And as you can see by this situation on the clocks, they're still within theory, so just playing out what they know. Bishop captures on d4, and now knight to f5. Again, you could capture the bishop, and it seems like a good idea. Why not grab the bishop? But then queen captures on d4, and after knight c6, let's say queen c3, and if d4, queen c5, you stop black from castling. And while you can offer a queen trade, it's still looking a little bit weird. For example, if queen e7, you can capture, king capture, castles queenside, the d4 pawn is hanging. It's not easy to play. White is definitely better here. So that's why after bishop captures on d4, we have knight to f5, bishop to c3, and now pawn to d4. Okay, bishop to d2, we have queen to d5, and pawn to c4. And the game has been played before. There are a couple of games with this exact same position in the database. Usually you will see queen e4 check, then queen e2, queens get traded off, captures, and okay, the game continues. Nothing wrong with this. But here after c4, we have d captures on c3 en passant, and it is now as of move 12 that we have a completely new game. And as you can see, Both of them still an hour and 34 minutes on the clock, so they know everything. Bishop captures on c3, offering a queen trade, but neither is interested in actually trading queens. We have castles kingside, bishop to e2, we have rook to d8, putting pressure on the queen on d1, but just castles kingside, no problems there. Queen e4, now sort of declining the trade, and while you can play queen e1, it looks a little bit weird, so knight to d2, again attacking the queen, and queen to h4. We have pawn g3, queen to e7, and bishop to f3, bishop to d7, and now rook to e1. Just developing the rook, putting more defenders to that e5 pawn. Rook a to c8, black basically finishing development, and bishop to g2, preparing queen to f3, and then maybe the other rook comes to d1, maybe c1. We'll see, maybe some pawn to b4, a4, b5 action. So the usual stuff. We have bishop to e8, queen to g4, and knight c to d4. So not really threatening anything, but it is annoying to have the knight on d4. We have rook a to c1 and bishop to c6, countering the strong bishop on g2, followed by knight to e4. And here you can play a lot of moves. You don't really have to capture on e4, but it's still not a problem if you do. And it's actually the second best move recommended by the engine. Bishop captures on e4 is what was played in the game. But just for fun, because I know how much you guys love disgusting engine lines, I will show this one. I mean, it's just, I was happy before I started analyzing this game. But when I saw this line, I was, I don't know if you can sort of quantify happiness, but I wouldn't lie if I said I was twice as happy. So this is the idea. Queen c7. Okay, attacks the e5 pawn. Queen h3, inviting the capture on e5, which wouldn't be all that great because then knight g5, and you have the threat of queen captures on h7, but also attacking the queen on e5. So that would be a terrible blunder. But black can just play queen e7, hoping for queen g4, and then, okay, you get a threefold repetition. But white can also play g4, attack the knight, and now look at this, knight h4, knight to f6 check, hoping for g captures, and then you pick up the knight on h4, but no, queen captures on f6. And what kind of a queen sacrifice is this? How is it justified? E captures on f6, and now look at this, bishop captures on g2. Attacking the white queen and threatening knight f3, check, which would force the queen to capture, and then black is just winning. So you would have to play queen captures on h4, and now knight to f3 check with the beautiful monster fork here. King captures, knight captures with check, and after king g3, something like g5, and you have this position where the material is equal, knight versus bishop, complete chaos on the board. You can play it. So I thought you guys would enjoy this. But okay, it wasn't played. Bishop captures on e4, the sort of second best line, but both of them pretty equalish. Queen captures on e4 and knight back to c6. We have pawn to b4 now with the standard idea of a4 and b5. Pawn to a6, we have pawn to a4 and pawn to h5. And other than some natural moves that you can play, there really isn't all that much white can hope for achieving in terms of advantage. Rook c to d1, we have queen to c7, and rook captures on d8. We have queen captures on d8 and bishop to f3. I guess trying to get black to play g6, maybe weaken the position a little bit, but also just king can come to g2. So, maybe you want to activate the bishop some different way. It's who knows what grandmasters have on their mind. But we don't have g6. We have knight c back to e7, rook to d1 attacking the black queen, and queen to e8. Now putting pressure on the a4 pawn, or basically offering a pawn trade, the b7 pawn for the a4 pawn. We have bishop to e1, and now pawn to g6, queen captures on b7, queen captures on a4, and now bishop to e2. And okay, from a game where both players were constantly above an hour and 30 minutes, now they're down to 8 minutes and 22 minutes. So what can you play here? It's a very tricky position. Some moves are okay, some moves are terrible. A5 is the move you should play. It wasn't played in the game. I'm just going to show it because well, the idea behind the pawn to b5 is that while white does have a very, very strong passed pawn here, you can go knight d4. And now the problem is you're attacking the bishop. You can't really keep the bishop on this diagonal because the bishop is also guarding the rook on d1. And if you play queen to e4, then black will just trade, captures, knight d5. And okay, it's pretty equalish, but black is definitely the one to be preferred. You're never executing that pawn to b6 move. The knight here is a monster. It's on a light square, so the bishop will not be able to oppose it. There's a pawn on e5, so you can't really even gain control of this diagonal. It would be easier to play this with black. But after bishop to e2, rook to c6 was played, and now all of a sudden Ihor is completely winning. But you guys will have to figure out how to do that. Feel free to pause the video while I give you a couple of seconds. The winning idea, believe it or not, is rook to d8 with check. I know it's the first move you thought of, but interestingly, Ihor missed it. And the point is that after king h7, queen to b8, there's no defense. And it seems like, yes, but the knight is covering g8, so can't you just play king g7? No, because you're still going to play rook to h8, and this is now going to be checkmate. There's no defending this. If you go for rook to c8, in hopes of maybe winning one of the bishops, that's not going to work. So just captures, and after captures and captures, there's no way you can take advantage of this. Even if you could somehow put the queen on e4, you know, the white queen would easily defend the bishop, so it's not really possible. If you go queen a1, just queen c3, you defend, you offer a queen trade, you're up a full piece, you're completely winning. Unbelievable, but Ihor misses it. He plays queen to d7. The idea is now he wants to have the queen in front of the rook to checkmate the black king, but it was also fine to have the rook in front of the queen. And now it can be defended. Now you can play knight d5. It is the only move that saves black, but now it is Robert who misses it. He doesn't go for knight to d5. Instead, he plays queen to c2, which, okay, you know, you can bring the rook back. You're attacking the bishop on e2, but now the position is completely winning. Now Ihor has a checkmate in 5, and this time he doesn't miss it. What do you think he played? Hopefully you found it, as I've already sort of spoiled it in the previous variation, but yes, it is of course queen to e8 check. I hope none of you were considering queen to d8, because what will you, I mean, where is the rook going? So queen to e8 check was played, and it was in this position on move 35 that Robert Markus resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So very nicely done, and the game would continue with king g7 and then rook d8, and that's it. You cannot avoid checkmate, and even if you try to get the king into the game, it doesn't work. Just queen to h8 with check, king g5, and pawn to f4 is checkmate in 1, unfortunately for black. But yeah, so Ukraine wins very convincingly on board 1. Ruslan Ponomarev drew Alexander Predke, Andrei Volokitin drew Alexei Sarana, and then we had a victory. Igor Kovalenko defeated Alexander Injic on board 3, and here Ihor Samunenkov defeated Robert Markus, so a very, very convincing victory for Ukraine. And these are the standings after today's round. Ukraine sole first place with 9 points, followed by 3 teams with 8 points: Netherlands, France, and Serbia. Then we have with 7 points Hungary, Armenia, Romania, Greece, Azerbaijan with 6 points. We have Turkey, England, Spain, Slovenia, Georgia 1, Georgia 2. No, Georgia 2 is with 5 points. Germany, Croatia, and so on and so on. So pretty intense, but it is Ukraine who now takes the sole lead. Will they be able to keep it until the end? We'll see. We know how incredible Ukraine always is in every competition, so you know, probably it's going to be very hard for anyone to take them down. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by 16-year-old Ihor Samunenkov. I would like to thank Robert Aratun, Rokaho Ulrich Thini, Gerhard St. Pierre, and Jerry Tal 5938 for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And try out the Lotus Chess. It's been upgraded yesterday. It's even more powerful. See you soon.